This is the Mavic 3 Classic. It's intuitive, it's affordable, it's fun to use, it makes me excited. It's an absolute beast to work with, and I can't wait to tell you all the reasons why. So jumping straight into this, let's look at video quality and the camera. This drone uses a micro four thirds CMOS sensor. It's not a full-sized sensor, so you're not taking advantage of all the detail that you would be able to capture if you were using a full sensor camera, but that is okay. It isn't the end of the world. This drone performs really well, even in low light conditions. So you can take advantage of what this drone has to offer at a budget price. Well, I say budget price, I mean, you know, when I bought this drone, I paid £1,500 for it. That was including VAT here in the UK. That is still expensive for a drone. This isn't a toy. It's that drone that just removes the bottleneck. And I think for the price it sits at and for what it can give you with what it has, totally worth it. It doesn't have all the other cameras that the more advanced Mavic series drones have. So that means you aren't able to take advantage of, let's say, teleshots. Now, if you are, let's say, filming animals, sports, maybe you want to film something in the distance, you aren't going to be able to crop in and get those really nice tight shots without losing detail. And that's because if you want to do something like that with a Mavic 3 Classic, you are going to have to zoom in. Zooming in is not great because the more you zoom in, the more detail you lose. So having access to 5.1K is great because you can crop in, and even though you are losing detail, and it is, I think, a widely held misconception that you're not losing detail, of course you're losing detail, but it's not noticeable. It's not noticeable because at 4K the resolution is so good that you don't really notice the difference between 5.1K and 4K. So when you're zooming in, you can get away with quite a lot. And having access to that, to be able to digitally zoom into something and not have to worry about losing quality, it makes me feel happy with the fact that I can do something, again, at this kind of entry-level price, and be able to get away with it in terms of the quality of my content. That's just really, really good. That's really, really helpful, and it gives me confidence as a drone pilot and an editor. This camera also films in 10-bit color, meaning you're getting those really deep colors, and they are that Hasselblad profile, so it just looks incredible. The greens are really green, the blues are really blue, the oranges are really orange, etc., etc. You see where I'm going with this, and again, it just makes everything so vivid and so colorful. And in the editing suite, guess what? You have even more control because, yes, the Mavic 3 Classic has D-Log. You can film in that really flat profile so that you can take full control of the color grade and the color correction in the editing suite. You can then snap on some LUTs if you want to, and whatever else you want to do. All sorts of effects. Not going to affect this at all because you can film in D-Log. So you have full control, and you don't need to get the more advanced Mavic series drones in order to get that D-Log. What this drone doesn't have is ProRes, but that's not the end of the day. If having ProRes is extremely important to you, maybe you have clients that want everything to be given to them in ProRes, maybe you don't have enough storage facility and you want things in those smaller files, I don't know. But if having ProRes is a huge thing for you, if it's a big deciding factor, then don't get the Classic because this does not have ProRes. But if it's not a big deal to you, you may as well get the Classic. Okay, let's look at the agility of this drone. I mean drone. It also has bypass mode. Bypass mode means it's not going to come to a complete halt unless it absolutely has to. It is going to do its absolute best to go around or over the obstacle. It can do that, and that's because it has sensors on the top, on the bottom, on the sides, etc. And so it can do that really, really well. And it even goes one step further. Beyond just bypassing it, you can select Nifty, and that means it's not just going to bypass, it's going to do it really smoothly. If you are a video editor, think of it as a Bezier curve or an in and out point. You know, you're smoothing those in and out points. And as it goes around something, it's just going to make it look ultra cinematic. It's going to be smooth, it's going to be slow, it's going to look like it was filmed using a massive crane or a jib of some kind. It just does the shots so well. Ultimately, that makes this drone extremely versatile. If you want to use it for sports, to film animals, to film yourself, to film your friends, to take it out on holiday, vlogging, etc., etc. Maybe you're into kind of, certain types of scenery like, vast mountains, different landscapes, etc. You can do all of it. You can use the panoramic mode on this, you can do hyperlapses, you can do anything you want, and it just makes it so special because I don't feel like I am restricted when I use this drone. Honestly, if you don't feel like you want to buy this yet, I'd be really surprised, because I have to admit, talking about it makes me want to go out and buy another one. You can get some really cool attachments for this drone. You can get some stuff to float it on water, you can get other propellers, you can get guards for the drone, you can also get ND filters for your camera, polarizers, and so on. So I have a light pollution filter for this drone camera. I have a set of ND filters and a set of polarizers. Now, I bought all of mine from Freewell, and I'm really happy that I did that because they fit well and they perform well. Now, this is really important, not so much the ND filters, but something that I actually neglected to mention earlier, and that's that this camera has an adjustable aperture. Now that is hugely important because, again, not all the other drones have an adjustable aperture, and if you are any type of camera operator, you will know exactly how important it is to be able to have an adjustable aperture. It is really important. So if you want to capture really nice bokeh, if you want to soften or even harden edges, like, on your subject, it's really crucial to be able to adjust that aperture. When you adjust the aperture, it's inevitably going to adjust the exposure of your image. You don't really want to be using the aperture if you don't have to. And so being able to stick an ND filter on and then use the exposure reduction or increasing function on the drone, and then use the aperture as an absolute last resort, that just gives me so much more flexibility than I otherwise would have had. So if I was flying the Mini 3 Pro, I wouldn't have access to that because the aperture on the Mini 3 Pro is stuck at 1.7. The aperture on this drone is not stuck, but its lowest or widest aperture is 2.8. I think either 2.5 or 2.8. I can't remember, but it's one of those. I mean, that's a marginal difference. This drone is a premium buy, and it is a premium buy. Even though it's pretty much almost completely made out of plastic, it does have some elements to it that are made out of some type of alloy or metal. I mean, the bottom is definitely not plastic. It has metal screws. It's got some glass on it. It's got some intake and outtake fans and like a vent. This is like really built for purpose. The wings, the wings, propellers have rubber tips on them. It feels substantial. This is a heavy drone. I think it weighs like 895 grams. It feels so much more. I feel like this weighs a couple of kilos at least. Okay, maybe not a couple of kilos, but definitely a kilo at least. Yeah, this feels like a kilo at minimum. And that's not actually the drone itself. The drone is really light and the camera is really light. What weighs the most is the battery. That being said, it feels really premium, and it does. I've had some knocks with this drone. I never used to keep it in a hard case. I used to just kind of carry it around with me freely. Now I look after it a little bit more, and yeah, it hasn't cracked. It's still airworthy. It is just still fit for purpose. It's got a bit of normal wear and tear to it, but overall, it kind of looks pristine. I think what also sells to that kind of premium factor is, even though you're paying the kind of entry-level price for a rather advanced piece of tech, it comes with really cool stuff. So you're not just getting one of those normal remote controllers. The remote control is really cool. The sticks feel really intuitive. I do kind of wish that they were a little bit bigger because they are quite small. That being said, I can buy some bigger screw-on sticks if I want to, aftermarket sticks, and I can just buy those from Amazon and then unscrew the ones that came with it, and then I can tuck those away underneath and I can just clip those in. Okay, let's talk about the Fly More combo. So this is where I have a bit of a gripe. I had to pay almost half the price of the drone for the Fly More combo. Now, in the Fly More combo, I got four things actually. I got I think it was a USB-C cable. I got the docking station and I got an additional 2 batteries. Now the batteries are heavy. Those are going to be the things that weigh the most. I'm absolutely fine with that. I'm happy with that. But I have to admit, just for that docking station and those 2 batteries, like, that's a lot of money for those 3 things. And the docking station feels kind of cheap, if I'm honest. It's all plastic and it just feels really tacky. And then you have those really heavy batteries, and I'm putting those in, and I do sometimes think, is this docking station going to snap if I pop the battery in too hard? So I don't really know why they've not really done more on the docking station. That being said, it works absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It works well. It hasn't let me down. But yeah, I do kind of wish that they just did a bit more with that docking station, because it just feels a bit tacky. For over half a K, I kind of expect a little bit more than just piece of, kind of flimsy plastic, but I'm not going to gripe about it too much. Flight time. Flight time is really important. For some reason, the Fly More combo batteries that I bought, those seem to give my drone more flight time. I don't know why that is. When I use the battery that the drone came with, it gives me a solid 35 to 40 minutes, but I seem to be getting a good 40 to 45 minutes using the other batteries. At one point, I got 50 minutes. I don't know why I got 50 minutes, but I did. I got 50 minutes. I was really, really impressed. And so to be able to get 50 minutes flying the Mavic 3 Classic, you're keeping it in the air for almost an hour. And that includes hovering time, flying at a variety of different speeds. I was flying in cine mode, normal mode, and I was also flying in sport mode. And so to be able to do all of that and keep it in the air for about an hour, yeah, I have to admit, really, really impressed. And so if you ask me, for £550, is that Fly More combo package worth it? Well, you're going to have to ask yourself, what's it to you? What does it mean to you to have that Fly More combo? If you don't have that Fly More combo and you don't have access to other batteries, you are going to have to find a place to charge that battery. So you need to go somewhere indoors, somewhere with an outlet. You're going to have to stick around for like an hour to 2 hours, and then you're going to have to recharge that battery. Having additional batteries that you can just kind of stick in and out on the go, you can keep this drone in the air for about 2.5 hours at least. Almost 2.5 hours. That's not a small thing. Like, that's really, really good. So if you're going to use it for commercial stuff, like if you're filming sports, or perhaps you want to film something that's going to last longer than about 35-40 minutes, yes, getting the Fly More combo is a really good idea, and I would strongly consider buying it. This is a great little drone, totally worth the money. It's really good value for money. It gives you everything that you need if what you're looking for is similar to what I use it for. I use it for sports, I use it for filming animals, for filming myself, for vlogs, just if I want to capture memories. I can take this drone anywhere and I can feel quite comfortable flying. Now, it is worth caveating that if you are going to buy anything over 250 grams, you are going to need to do a few things. For one thing, I would strongly suggest you get the A2 CFC, which is basically a self-declaration certificate telling the CAA that you self-declare that you are competent, that you have enough common sense to understand the rules and regulations and the do's and the don'ts. And as long as you self-declare that you are competent and that you can do what they are asking you to do and comply with the rules that they're asking you to comply with, you are going to get that A2 CFC. That being said, getting an A2 CFC, which is basically your self-declaration saying that you're competent, that is not going to solve all your problems. If you are a drone pilot of, let's say, a Mavic 3 Classic or anything bigger, really anything over 250 grams, if you don't have an A2 CFC, you are really restricted to keeping a 150 meter separation distance between the drone and uninvolved people. Now, as you can imagine, that means you're pretty much flying over fields. Even then, it's going to be extremely difficult because you're not really allowed to fly over private property if you don't have the permission of the landowner. So, it makes it almost impossible to fly this thing. really impossible. Getting the A2 CFC just reduces that separation distance down to something far more reasonable, and that is 50 meters. That means that you can fly 50 meters away horizontally from uninvolved people, but you still can't fly deliberately over them. You can't really do those more risky, moderate to high risk maneuvers or operations with the drone. So for that, you would need to get something called the GVC. I've tried having this conversation with people at the CAA. It's been an absolute nightmare. I haven't really got anywhere with it. They've just told me that I have to interpret the rules as I see fit, and should I get into trouble, then that is what is going to happen. I have to admit that wasn't really a useful or helpful thing to say, and it was one of the more pointless conversations I've had in 2025. So, that being said, that is my review about the Mavic 3 Classic done, and those are my thoughts on the Classic as a whole. Fantastic drone, well worth a buy, really fun to use. Oh, I also forgot to say it's really, really loud. So I think I'm going to leave this video there. If you've liked this video, like, subscribe, share, all that jazz, blah, 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 blah. I do have a goal, and that's to get to 1,000 subscribers, and right now I am on like 146, I think. So a like and a share and a subscribe would really help. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye-bye for now.